everyone, it's Holly and I'm here with a slightly different video, and I'm sorry if you can hear my fan. I'm not turning it off. Hopefully this video doesn't suck. I'll try to talk a little louder. So today I wanted to talk about Disney and anxiety. So I'm not 100% sure how this video is going to go. We'll see. But the reason I wanted to do this is because I suffer from anxiety. Specifically, like, the real issue for me is typically social anxiety. So anytime I have to interact with people, myself in a different situation, I get incredibly anxious, have panic attacks, those kinds of things. Like, to sort of put things into perspective, one of the things that I always talk about when explaining to people how, like, bad this is and, like, what it does to my life is that, like, I basically avoid going to the doctor because I freak out about even calling the doctor. And then on top of that, going to the doctor and everything involved in it freaks me out. Like, I have to prep myself to actually make the phone call and schedule my appointments and stuff. So, you know, that's fun. But I am currently medicated. I've been medicated for 2 years. I do think it helps, but whenever I'm in a different situation, I definitely have a lot more stress and a lot more panic. And I feel like that's the last thing you want to deal with when you're on vacation. Now, this is going to be my experience, things I've done, things I've gone through. They're not necessarily going to work for everybody. Everybody has different situations depending on your needs. I highly suggest researching, finding out other things. This is like hot glue on my freaking thumb. Just trying to get people's thoughts, things that you've done, and this is specifically for anxiety, so I'm not talking about any kind of like sensory processing disorders, anything like that that can overwhelm you and cause you to be like super anxious, because that's not something I personally have experience with. So I do want to say that personally, when I'm at Disney World, I have much less anxiety. Now, getting there is super anxious. I'm going in a few weeks and I'm already having trouble sleeping, just thinking about everything I have to do to prep for the trip, for flying. I hate flying. Flying is super stressful for me. It's super anxiety inducing. The whole experience, airports, the airplane, the whole thing really stresses me out. Just thinking about it kind of gives me the willies. But once I'm landed and I am on my way to Disney World, I don't feel the same level of anxiety I do in my day-to-day life or in normal situations. I feel like excited, which is very easy to confuse with anxiety, and that's not to say I've never had like actually, I don't think I've ever had a panic attack in Disney World. I've gotten really close before, but I've never had a panic attack. And I do have moments where I get anxious, usually about like meeting reservations, that kind of stuff, because I'm a perpetual on-time person, and so not being on time really, that's a huge like trigger for me, is lateness. Still, Disney World is a safer place for me, and it gets to the point where even like I can interact with people I don't know, which is very unusual. Now, characters I'm still dealing with, that's more of an awkwardness thing than an anxiety thing, but initiating conversations especially is hard for me, and I find it easier to do down there. Like, I will talk to families or anything, and like last time I went, I was running late on my reservation to the Hoop-Dee-Doo review, so I was a little stressed, which actually makes this whole situation even weirder that it happened. I had to go from my hotel, All Star Movies, to the Magic Kingdom to catch a boat from there to Fort Wilderness, and for whatever reason the boat like was taking forever. It was ridiculous. And Hoop-Dee-Doo review is something that, one, is like my life. I love it. It's like a must-do for me. But they also don't let you in if you're late. So I was freaking out. Was texting my parents because they happened to get there. They were running late as well, but they were able to get there faster since they were staying at the Polynesian. And they were telling me, like, we're checked in, it's fine. They know that there's some issues or whatever with the boats. It's gonna be okay. And there was a family there on the boat as well. It was like a mom, a dad, and 2 kids, I believe. And they were obviously going to the Hoop-de-Doo review as well, and were actually kind of anxious. I could tell like they were a little confused. I feel like it may have been their first trip. They didn't seem like super knowledgeable about things or anything, and I ended up like reaching over basically and being like, hey, are you going to the Hoop-de-Doo review? They said yes, and I said, so am I. My parents are already there. They're saying that they're postponing the show temporarily because they know that people are running behind. There must have been something going on with the boats or something, I don't know. And then they actually like followed me to the Hoop-de-Doo review to like figure out how to get there. And then after our show, the boats again were being so stupid, and like my parents and I just wanted to get a boat to the Magic Kingdom because that's literally all we wanted to do. We just wanted to go to the Magic Kingdom. And the boat like wasn't coming, and then I saw a boat for the Contemporary coming, and I was like, oh, we should just get on this boat and go to the Contemporary, and then we can either monorail it or walk straight over. And that family actually followed me. And then we chatted a little bit on the boat, and then when we got to the Contemporary, I can't remember, I think we decided to walk to the Magic Kingdom, yeah, because then they were going to take the monorail, because they like didn't really know what to do, and I was like, oh, where do you need to go? And they're like, oh, we're going to the Grand Floridian. And I was like, okay, so you're just going to want to go like through here, up this escalator, and then you're going to find the monorail, hop on the monorail, and it's stop number blah, 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 you're good to go. And the dad was like, oh, thank you so much, you've been like a lifesaver tonight. And it's so weird because I would never do something like that in my day-to-day life, which is horrible because I would love to. I love helping people, but sometimes it's just breaking through, and for whatever reason in Disney World I'm able to break through. So, you know, I'll say happy birthday to people, I'll wave to people, I'll do things that I would not do in my normal life, and things that would normally give me a panic attack. So specifically after that interaction and that night, I started to give a lot of thought to what was going on and why I felt better in Disney World. And I think a lot of it is that it does feel like a very safe place for me. I have been there. This October will be my 10th trip. I'm very familiar with what's going on there. I feel happy there. I'm able to relax. I feel protected, and I'm sure those are all contributing factors. The biggest thing, and the thing I highly suggest for you, is knowledge and preparation. So for me personally, knowing, like looking back and analyzing these situations, this is something I've carried into my regular life to try and deal with my anxiety here, is to know what's going on. So Disney World is great because you can do that. So you can use like YouTube videos and message boards to try and figure out what things are like. So something that might stress you out could be transportation. So you can figure out everything you need to know basically about Disney World's transportation system, and also get like maps and everything if you decide to drive yourself. Now personally, not looking to drive a car, hate driving to begin with, definitely don't want to do it on vacation. But some people would like it, and maybe driving will make you feel like you have control, and that's great, but probably getting a GPS or looking at maps ahead of time will really help you out. Like one of the things I do locally here at home is if I'm going somewhere I don't know, I do use the GPS on my phone, but in addition to that, I try to look up directions ahead of time on like my laptop and like map it out in my head so that the directions aren't just a surprise to me, and that helps ease a lot of the anxiety that I feel. Same thing goes for attractions, going through the parks, things like that. Now things I wish personally there was more information on is like really silly stupid stuff. So, or what I would consider silly stupid stuff but stress me out. Like my last trip was the very first time I had ever checked into a hotel, ever. I had never even checked into a hotel locally. Now I've been to hotels and I've stayed in hotels, but I've always been with someone else who has taken care of that. So this time was the first time I ever had to check in on my own, and I was really scared, and there's no video really on how to do it, and so that was a little stressful for me, and now I've done it. But things like Magical Express, a lot of times you can see people doing it, so you can get an idea of how it works, like walking up to the cast members, doing your Mickey to Mickey, or talking to them, and then they direct you. Disney's super great about directing you places. There is always a cast member around to kind of guide you, which I think is another helpful thing. But yeah, I think just preparing and having a knowledge base of this, like what's going on, can be really helpful, because for me at least, I find it to be very grounding and allows me to focus on really important things. So I hope this helped a little bit. I'm not 100% sure if it did or not, but don't let your anxiety ruin your vacation. And oh, the other thing I would highly suggest is to make sure the people that you're vacationing with, if you are vacationing with other people, are fully aware of what's going on. Like my family is, or at least my parents are aware of my anxiety. This vacation I'm traveling with a huge chunk of my extended family, and I haven't really been open with them about my anxiety or anything. It's not anything I'm embarrassed about, it's just not like an easy thing to bring up in conversation, which I understand. But I think maybe I should broach it with a few people that maybe I'll be vacationing with, like, closer, because we're not going to be together all the time. But I highly suggest that you have at least one person with you on your vacation who knows what's going on and who knows how to handle what you're going through and can be there as like a support, and I have hiccups, can be like a support system for you and can help you if you end up having something like a panic attack or anything. And don't be afraid. I know this is easier to say than it is to do, but to ask for help and to just step aside. If you're overwhelmed, there's always somewhere you can go. Feel free to reach out to a cast member. They want you to have a great vacation as well. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any issues with anxiety and Disney, if you have any tips, or if you want to talk about how this has impacted your vacation or anything like that, feel free to leave that information down in the comments below. Like I said, this is just my experience. Everyone else's experience is going to be a little different. So any information and any suggestions are always welcome. And thanks so much for watching again. Bye!